traveler remained beside the worn stone, with the old wedge in his hand. He waited for another blow, but the forest gave him nothing. After a while, he placed the wedge on the stone and stepped away from it. Still nothing. He walked outside the old foundation and waited there. The morning had grown bright as snow loosened from the higher branches where sunlight reached them, and somewhere beyond the hollow, a bird called between the trees. The traveler listened until he was certain the hammer would not sound. Then he returned to the forge. The 3 pieces of iron remained where he had left them. He picked up the wedge marked with 3 lines and carried it through the old doorway. Nothing happened. He walked farther from the foundation. Still nothing. The traveler stopped among the trees and looked at the iron in his hand. If the hammer responded to the wedge, it did not respond every time. That was useful to know. He returned to the forge and set the wedge beside the other pieces. For a moment, he considered leaving all 3 where he had found them. They belonged here. Whatever their purpose had been, the men who worked in this place had shaped them, used them, and marked them long before he was born. Taking one felt strangely like taking something from a grave. The traveler did not like the thought. He picked up the 3 marked wedge once more and examined it. There was nothing remarkable about it in daylight. Old iron, a worn edge, 3 simple cuts. He set it down. Then iron struck iron. The traveler looked toward the forest. The echo returned from the walls that were no longer standing. He waited for the sound of fire. It did not come. The traveler remained still until the echo faded. Then he stepped through the doorway. He had gone only a few paces when the hammer struck again. He stopped. For a moment, he considered returning. Instead, he continued toward his camp. Another blow came sometime later. The traveler kept walking. When he reached the shallow rise, he looked back. From there, the buried forge was almost impossible to distinguish from the surrounding forest. A few stones, uneven snow. Nothing that would have drawn the eye of a passing man. He thought of the wedge lying where he had left it. Then he continued uphill. His camp appeared between the trees. The fire had burned low but had not gone out. The traveler knelt beside it, moved the coals together, and added dry wood. A small flame returned. He warmed his hands and began preparing to leave. He packed what remained of his food, secured his knife and flint, and scattered the loose branches he had gathered but never burned. He intended to find the road before the day was gone. The hammer sounded again. The traveler continued fastening his pack. Another blow came while he covered the remains of his fire with snow. He listened, but he did not turn toward the forge. When the fire was out, he stood and pulled the pack across his shoulder. Only then did he notice the weight inside his coat. The traveler frowned. He reached beneath the cloth. His fingers closed around the cold iron. Slowly, he drew out the wedge. 3 short lines crossed its edge. The traveler stared at it. He had left it on the stone. He was certain of that. Behind him, somewhere beyond the trees, iron struck iron. The traveler did not move. He looked at the wedge in his hand. Then, for the first time,